Hey everybody, Caleb here, and today we're going to be doing some thickness sander upgrades. So, something I've been planning on doing for a while now, that I'm now finally getting around to do, because I'm forced to do it, is upgrade my thickness sander. I built this shortly after starting here. So this has been a year and a half ago, something like that at this point. This is one of those things that when you need one that is what you need, it's exactly what you need, and nothing else can fill the job. So I built this to work as a thickness sander that fits on my spindle sander, and that's all on video. And I knew at some point I would have to come back to this and make some upgrades and change some things and maybe talk about how it's been going. And over the past, I guess if it is a year and a half or something close to that, it's been working really good, but there's just a few things I want to change, and I was looking at maybe upgrading it, finally taking it apart and go ahead and fixing some of my problems, and it broke. So now I have to take it apart and fix it and upgrade the things that I wanted to upgrade, which isn't a bad thing. Finally about time, and if it makes me do it, it makes me do it. So I'm going to start taking it apart here, but so for starters, I made this out of what I had. This is the same thing that my tabletop is made out of, and it's actually the same exact piece that my tabletop is made out of. It's just leftovers. I also used the chipboard with the top on it because I knew it was going to stay flat, and I knew that it was flat because when I'm thickness sanding against it, I want to know that it's flat. So there was a couple reasons why I used this as opposed to something else. The other reason I used this is it was cheap, and at the time that was very important. However, since I've built this, I've had a very nice viewer send me some things, and I've had that happen a few times since then. But in relation to this, I was sent a big piece of high density plastic, the kind they use for cutting boards, in hopes that I would use that to finally change this out. Now this has been quite a while now that I got sent this, and I just haven't had time to do this instead of focus on instrument repair. But now I have to. So that's going to be the first big change, is we're not going to be using the chipboard anymore, which that's the number one thing everybody said was not going to be good, was the chipboard. And the reasons people said it wasn't going to be good are 100% true. So I had these bolts riding along in the slot here, and that's where my, if you have seen this work, that's where my fence ran along that slot, and that worked fairly well on its own. And I don't have really any issues with the fence construction wise. However, just like people said, the slot at the bottom, I'm going to start wearing it out, and I sure did. It did not take long to start wearing it out. It worked fine for a long time, and it still worked fine up until I started taking it apart, but it could definitely have been better. It became not the smoothest ride fairly quickly. So getting rid of the chipboard is going to be a good thing. It worked good for a while, but it's time to move on. I am going to be using it, the old one, a lot for measurements. There's a few things that are working very fine for the way it is. The size is about perfect for me. If it's on my spindle sander, just fine the way it is. So I'll be reusing the size. When it comes to construction, the biggest thing I want to change is where the slot is. The slot was for the fence to ride in. There was a point here and a point here, and it just rode in this slot. I want to move that one out to the end. I don't know why I didn't do that in the first place, because for the most leverage, to make this the absolute strongest, this should be on separate ends, not one in the middle. So I want to move the slot out to the end, and the pivot point can basically stay the same. That way we have the most strength out of this. In case you haven't seen me run this, this piece that goes on here is so that I can thread a knob in here, or thread this this all thread with a knob on it, and slowly advance my fence by rotation. So it just adds a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. But if I get that out, especially this one, if I get this on planted out here, or I've got the leverage for it, this should work maybe even a little bit better. So hopefully that was working, because this had a little issue where it would, I would just end up pivoting this. It wasn't really pushing the fence. It was just pivoting this piece back. So hopefully when we're out here and we finally got the leverage advantage, we can keep on top of that and actually keep it working properly. As for these pieces, I'm going to replace them with something else. But this piece, the main piece, is now getting replaced with this big sheet of high density plastic. I want to, when I initially did this, I drew this all out digitally, printed it off, and then just basically taped it down as paper to keep my lines all good. This time, I think I'm just going to kind of hold it down, give me a Sharpie, and draw a line around the outside. So that's going to be pretty close. Find a straight edge. Follow that up. I should be able to go cut that out, and we'll have a piece the same size we were, so we should be working in similar numbers. So I'll go cut that out, and we'll come back to this. Then I'll have plenty of extra for making extra parts. So we got this cut out. Now we're basically in the exact same shape the old one was. I think I'm going to try and mark my pivot hole for my fence. I'm just going to have to do the best I can here, because this ain't going back together the way it was. And I'm not sure that it's entirely vital that it be exactly the same. Nope, can't see that. I'll try something else. I don't think I'm fitting my Sharpie through that hole. So, let's see if we can't get a pencil in there. Kinda, sorta, not really. I guess my best option is just clamp the two together and take it to the drill press. That's not gonna fit. So there, it's clamped to that, so I should be able to just take this to the drill press and re-drill that hole. That hole works just fine in reference to the spindle sander, so this is fine. What I'm going to move is this slot. It's going to come out some, and how we're going to do that, I'm not entirely sure yet, but we'll figure it out after I go re-drill this hole. Well, see how that came out. I think it worked pretty well. Cool. I'm just going to slide one of these in there to see how it goes. Yeah, cool, perfect. So what I think I'm going to do, because I think the way I routed the old one was with my Dremel tool, and I just had it out a certain distance. I think I'm just going to basically do it the same way. I'm going to, with pencil, mark the outside of the spindle sander to some degree. If I can see that, I kind of can. So that way that's marked, and I can at least see it, you know, about where I need to be. I was pretty happy with the length on this fence, so I may just kind of use it as a guide on how long I want this. So I think somewhere in this range. You know, that's about where I want that slot to be. The length on this fence worked pretty good. I may want to go maybe a hair longer, so I'll think about that, but roughly about like that. I'm going to go ahead and get the Dremel out, and we will see what it's going to take to route a new slot in that. So I remembered how I drilled this out the first time, and I say drilled this out. I marked out the line. Remember, I had it on a piece of paper marked here, and then I drilled it out with a drill bit, like a center point drill bit, so I could stay on that line, and then routed it out with the router. So I think what I want to do is get my line marked, and then come back with the drill and take most of it out with the drill. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape my Sharpie here to the end of this. This is going to make my fence a little bit longer, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think that should do it. Maybe we'll go just a little bit more. So we'll have plenty of room. And that brings us all the way up to the point at which this stops. It runs into the sander. So maybe just a little bit more. That's why I've got this marked here. And so that should be about our line for our new slot. It'll be on the outside, and then our fence can be just a little bit longer. Just gives me a little more room to push in from. So I think that's going to be an okay thing as well. Well, I can't get that tape back over there, so it's staying on there. I now have a flag for my Sharpie. So what I'm going to do now is get a center point bit that's exactly the same size as the hole, which I'm pretty sure is a 1/4 inch. So that shouldn't be hard to find, a 1/4 inch center point bit. And I'm just going to do this with a hand drill and drill these out. I'll probably set this up on blocks like this, so I have some room to drill from underneath. And look, I've got plenty of blocks that are exactly the same size, so we got lots of support. And then I can just run my center brad bit all the way around there, take out as much as I can, and we will be in good shape. I could do that with a hand drill, or I could do that on the drill press. I'm not really sure. I think if I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, doing it on the drill press probably makes more sense, because I know my lines will be straight up and down. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Change my mind, we're going to the drill press. Again! So, we drilled out all these holes. That took the bulk of it out. I couldn't reach the middle with the drill press because I was hitting the back bar, so I just finished those out with the cordless. And I believe we are now ready to do the inside of the actual line. So now I've got this set up to swivel, and it's pushed up against the inside of those holes so that it will cut, you know, basically the inside line of the slot all the way across. Drilling it out with the drill press takes away most of the bulk, and I don't have to worry about it as much. This shouldn't be too bad. Of course, if you're doing this, make sure you take proper safety precautions. Be careful. I I've got this set up on this. There shouldn't be any wood actually underneath here for me to hit because of how this is cut out and everything, so we should be doing good. It moves a little bit, but I think I got it with my wrist. So here we go. Alright, so I think that's going to be as good as I get from this side. I am going to have to cut this again from the other side to make the slot large enough to hold the head of one of these bolts. So I don't have to worry about it too much. I need to move out to the outside and take, I say the outside of the slot now, and take off as much as I can at that point. So what works best is just push this in here real deep, lock it in, unlock these, whichever way that is. There we go. Slide this out to the edge. Tighten these back up. We should be good to go. Alright, now that I am sufficiently covered in plastic, we can get that off of there, more or less. More on the more than the less, hopefully. And set that there. Well, it's actually looking pretty good. I need to do it from the other side as well and make the slot just a little bit bigger. So that's going to be basically just flipping it over. Now, I didn't get all the way through. My cutting bit is not actually deep enough to get all the way through. But I don't have to go all the way through on this side. I just need to go as deep as the head is, as wide as the head is, and we should be good. So I think I'm just going to do this. Stick that through there. Mark that up. So I can take that back out of there. And I need to cut out this whole area. So I can set this back up now, upside down from how we were. Set my Dremel tool up to just do that much. And I only need it as deep as the head on the bolt is. So I can set that up with a depth gauge, I believe. I drop this down to the surface. So that is about the same depth that the head on the bolt is there. So I can tighten the depth stop up here so it will stop me at the proper depth. Then I just come over to this edge, unlock like I did before. Find the outside there. Lock that back down. And that should be real easy to cut all the way across there again. So basically, here we go again. Well, I thought I was done wrapping out slots, but I forgot I gotta flush the head on the pivot point. So we're gonna do that one here real quick. Shouldn't take too long. I believe that ought to do it. Make sure we're cleaned out of there. Oh, that's perfect. Perfect. So, we've got it this far. A lot of it's done, really. If I use the old one, we can see what's going on here. We need to make the new one, at least probably an inch longer. So we have plenty of room here. But we're not too far off now. I think the next thing we're going to do is make a new adjustable fence. Just slide in this slot here. Now to do that, I don't think I have, I don't think that the plastic itself is long enough or wide enough, thick enough maybe is the proper term, to use it like I did this, where this is the same piece as the tabletop on its side. I'm fairly certain this is not thick enough because this is thinner, probably about half of what this is. So I think I do still want to use the plastic as a front, but I think I'm going to glue a piece of solid wood to the back that will mostly drill through. That way, I've got a piece of solid wood that we're running our bolt through, and we're not going to strip it out or anything. It should be plenty strong for that. And we've still got this plastic surface that's good for, like a non-slick or non-stick. Non-slick, no, non-stick to help things kind of slide across like I want. I think that's going to be the best bet. So I'm going to go cut up some pieces and see what we're looking at. I've got this piece cut out. I think this is going to be the backer for my adjustable fence. This is going to be big enough to fit the bolt through. And I'm not, enough meat on there to not worry about it. And then I'm basically just going to glue this to the front here, I think. And that way we have this slick surface to write across as I'm actually doing my sanding, and a nice solid piece behind it to keep everything really solid. The thing is, the only way I can think to adhere these two things together is some fast setting epoxy. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It's not really my favorite thing to do, is use the epoxy, but that's what I think is the only good option here. So that's what we're going to do. I've got some here. It said some 5 minutes. I'm going to give it a little bit longer than that. but that should start to get it going. I'm just going to spread it right on the surface. I can bring it a little bit closer to me. We'll see how far that gets us. I need some kind of stir stick. I've got the old cover to a scalpel blade. I'm just gonna stir with it and try to spread with it and see how much we got here. We probably don't have anywhere near enough here, but I'm gonna start spreading it out. I don't know, that might be close. I don't need a ton, I just need enough to coat it. That's looking pretty good. I don't know what to do with this thing now. I actually think that's going to be fine. I'm going to pick my flatter side. They're both pretty good, so it doesn't really matter. I'll go to this side. So basically I want this to go like this. And this to adhere here. So just making sure I get everything lined up the way I want it to be. And I want the white to stick off the edge of this just a little bit further so that we're catching that edge as we're setting it down. I actually think that's going to work. I am going to clamp that up for a while. I think that ought to be doing just fine. So that will be our actual adjustable fence. Give that some time for that epoxy to set. We're doing good. There'll be just a little bit of cleanup on this, you know, rounding some corners and making sure everything is easily usable. And we still got to drill 2 holes in it, but we're doing pretty good here. The next piece we're going to make is this piece that I used for putting my adjuster knob in, which previously rode in the slot and did this. I don't have another one of these inserts, but it did go in with a hex key, and I'm hoping I can get it out with one. So let me go grab one and see if we can get it out of there. Seems to be working well. So I'm just going to unscrew this. This definitely started tearing this up as soon as I put that in there. I'm going to go make a new one out of solid wood. I think it's just going to be the same piece of like wood that I used for the backer on the other one, but I think it's just going to be wood. There's no point in putting any plastic on there. I think I'm going to shorten it as well. I made this one a little, probably too long, so then when I'm pushing on this, I actually have a leverage advantage over my stop point. So the closer I can get it to the actual stop point, the bolt that holds it in, the better it should be because it has less mechanical advantage over it. So I'm gonna go make a new one of these, and it's only gonna be about, you know, about that wide. So I'll go cut that out. We'll drill a hole and stick it in there. So I went and cut this block out, and this is the same height as the fence that I've got here drying. And I'm kind of noticing there's not a lot of threads here, and I'd like to go get some washers to put on here as well, to kind of do this, you know, the last time a little better than it's been done. I don't have any washers, and I'd kind of like maybe a little bit longer of bolts, I'm thinking. So that's going to require a trip to the hardware store. So I guess, while this is drying, we're going to the hardware store. So after our trip to the hardware store, I've got some new bolts. I've already got one in here. I think we went from the 4-inch to the 4.5 inch. And that's looking really good. I also got some washers to help even out the pressure. And my wing nuts still fit, so we should be doing good. Just little improvements. I spent a whole 79 cents, 78 cents at the hardware store getting 3 bolts and 3 washers. So easy upgrades, nice and cheap, and it's gonna be better than it was. I think the next thing we need to do is start drilling holes in these. I'm hoping that this is set up at this point. I'm imagining so. It's been, at least a half hour on 5-minute epoxy. Seems to be good. So I think I'm going to go do just a little bit of shaping on the disc sander to make sure this is all nice one shape. Disc and the belt sander. Because I want to make sure it's totally flat, because it's not that right now. And we don't have too much overhang in any one spot. So a little bit of cleanup, and then we're going to be ready to start drilling holes in these. Some of that's going to be done on the drill press, and some of that's going to be done by hand. We'll see how I get going on that as it comes. So I think I got this cleaned up pretty good. It's sitting totally flat now. So from this, the perspective of using it, you can see it here. It's going to do this pretty much just like this, and this will be where the spindle is. So as we get closer, it gets smaller and smaller. We can open it up and have a much larger thing. I think I need to drill the pivot hole now. I'm just going to go ahead and eyeball it. I have been doing that so far pretty well. I think I'm just going to put it about there. This one needs to be drilled before I can decide on the, I can put this hole in it, because I'm basically going to need to drill this hole and then set this on here and turn it over and drill this hole from the underside so that I know that it lines up. So we'll go knock this hole out real quick and then move on to getting this one. It should be a fairly simple procedure to get both done. So I've got this set up now. You can see the fences underneath here, and I've just set this up basically upside down. I've got my drill and drill bit out, and I'm not going to be able to drill all the way through. It's too long to do that with this drill bit, but I am just kind of riding this along here so that I know it's going to fit where I put this hole. And I'm going to start the hole here. And then I can take this off of here and finish the hole. Just got this together. I had a little bit of an issue with needing to re-drill this hole, But I just filled it with a 1/4 inch dowel, glued it up, let it set for a little bit, and now we're good to go. And this is working really good. The other thing I got while I was at the hardware store was these washers. So we can do this maybe a little bit better than just the wing nuts against wood. I think the wing nuts are just going to dent us, and we're not going to have as good of a grip. But if we put some washers on there, I think we're going to be doing even better. Yeah. Oh, that's solid. Solid, solid. I also went ahead and finished this thing up, the my adjuster piece, so I should just be able to slide my other bolt through here. Slide that right on there. Grab my other washer and wing nut if I can find them. Here's a wing nut. And there's another washer around here somewhere. Here it is. Put that on there. Now we're just about closing this thing up. I want to thread on there. Hope it's the same one. I thought I grabbed 3 of the exact same. That's sure not threading on there. Which means I guess we're working with slightly less on this one. I guess I got only 2 of the same bolt, and one of them's different. Yeah, see, there's not much on there, and I'm not real thrilled about that, but it'll work. Actually looking good. That's solid. And then put this piece in. That's looking really good. So what you do is you loosen that up, you ride this up against here, you lose the wing nut. That's a very important step. Tighten that back down, and then as you want to advance this, you can just push on this, and hopefully it'll just loosen this a little bit. It should push that forward. Now I'm just denting that wood, so I need to put my little piece of metal on there, on the inside there, that I had on the old one. So that's got to come off. This is the steel part that, like a magnetic door, like cabinets, when they have the magnetic strip on them, this is the part it's supposed to stick to. But I just used it for this because it's a good solid reinforcement. It's not going to wear out like metal pushing in wood. So I can feel the mark. It's right there. So I need to cover that up with this. Not like that. A little bit of a hole there. Now let me get a little drill bit and we'll just put a starter hole for that. Okay. There we go. And our little reinforcement. And that should save us from wearing that out. Yeah. Perfect. So we tighten that down, we loosen this up, maybe this one just a hair, and then we can, yeah, push that right along. Cool. So I think we're just about done here. I still need to go cut out this section here for the sander itself. I'm gonna just cut out the bulk of it on the bandsaw and then actually let the spindle sander do the final shaping so that it fits nice and perfect. Other than that, I think we're just about done here. I want to give maybe the wood a little coat of oil, but I think we're just about done. So I'll get close to finishing this up, and then we'll go to the spindle sander and see what it looks like on the sander itself. Alright, I forgot one thing in putting this back together. I did not re-drill the holes on the front to put my my bar that fits in the track back on. So we're going to do that real quick. I need to basically put it so that the screw heads are flush to the top here. So I'm going to turn this so I can do it a little easier. Imagine I'll cut it. So we can put those back on now, and then we can actually put this back on here. And this this wooden rail I made, it just ensures that it goes back in the slot on the sander properly, so it doesn't move around forward to backward at all. I got it all set up here, and I've got just a little piece to kind of test run. I'm already liking it a lot better. Two of the issues I didn't really talk about, but I definitely solved, was making this a little bit thinner so I get more spindle is really nice. And the other one is I was having trouble with my wing nuts actually running into the sander, and now moving them back has solved that issue, as well as there's not really one anywhere near. But before, when the slot was here, that wing nut ran into the sander. Now it's not in my way at all on the front edge. So we're looking good. So I can bring this up. It definitely slides a little easier. Lock it down. Take some off.